one of the things that was quite unusual about the tsunami was how localised the damage was around the strip of coastline. But the damage only extended in a few hundred metres. So landing in Colombo, you very much landed in a functioning capital and a functioning airport, much the same as when I'd been there previously. But as we drove into the areas over on the east coast in Batacaloa and the areas that the wave had hit, the destruction was quite colossal. Many of the buildings, most of the areas, had been knocked almost to ground level. There were occasional doorways standing or corners of walls, but otherwise it really was below waist or knee height. And then you just had building rubble, people's personal effects, furniture, all mixed in with the debris of the wave and the damage it had caused to the trees, etc. There were very poignant personal effects which were just poking out of the sand and the tree debris, people's wedding photographs, photograph albums, and people were picking these up and just pointing to members of the family that they hadn't managed to find yet. Many, if not most of whom, were later confirmed dead. So that was them still at that stage looking for their loved ones, although yes, very much suspecting that the worst was the case. And while most of the bodies, I would say, had been recovered by the time I arrived in that area, there were still bodies being found, and occasionally you would think you were looking at bits of tree debris or broken furniture, and then you would realise that it was a limb. Then one of the local people would come and just cover that up, and they would deal with that with the family in the ways that were most respectful. So it was really quite eerie and quite striking as you went into the area of just how catastrophic the damage had been. And the personal cost. I met many people who had lost several members of their family. I met one man who had lost 40 members of his immediate and then, well, his wider family, 40 members, unbelievable. And another woman who had lost 14 of her more immediate family. And many of those people, certainly the two I have in mind, just had the question, why have I been left behind? You know, the wave took everybody else and it's just left me. And for the first weeks we were there in this area I'm thinking of in particular, the man who'd lost 40 was just sitting by the side of the road, really just lost in the grief of what had happened. He hadn't even started to think about where to sleep, etc. And the neighbours were just bringing him food and trying to keep him warm at night, but he just slept out in the open. He was, so grief-stricken at the time.